If we're trying to do strength and endurance-based activity, it's really easy to get this wrong. There's definitely an interference effect. You can almost make little to no progress with both, or even decline in one or the other if we don't balance it correctly. But we also know doing both can massively improve our health and our fitness. So the question becomes, how can we best manage them to get the most out of our training and make most progress in all directions? One of the easiest things to change is optimizing our timings. We can change this instantly and it makes a huge difference to results and outcomes. Because without changing anything else, it gives us a way to maximize recovery, but also energy. Should we do cardio first? Should we do weights first? Should we separate them, or should we combine them into a single session? Well, we know doing strength training first is gonna ultimately lead us to carrying fatigue into our endurance training. And if we do endurance training first, we know that's gonna induce some fatigue that will carry over into our strength training. So the best thing to do is simply separate them. This allows us additional recovery time in between to reduce that fatigue, and it also means that we can have more energy going into each session. A common way to do this is to have a workout in the morning and a workout in the evening, but that still leaves us with the question on which one should we do first, because arguably if we do strength in the morning, for example, we're still going to be carrying some fatigue into our endurance session in the evening, and vice versa. This is where I think it's important to have a priority, or at least a very slight priority to one discipline or aspect of training. So for example, if you really want to get good at running, then make sure you do your running workouts first. But on the other hand, if you would like to maximize strength more, then do your strength session first. It just means that you have the most physical and mental energy, you're the freshest going into that session, and you can give it the most. When it comes to the strength element of training, another way we can maximize recovery time and improve energy is either splitting up the muscle groups, so you're doing slightly shorter sessions but slightly greater intensity for each one, and then you're increasing the recovery time of each muscle group because you're cycling through the week. Or you could do full body sessions where you're hitting a little bit of everything, but slightly less intensity to reduce that overall fatigue. Now, deciding between those two options, I think it's best to look at this practically around your lifestyle. So you could either do, for example, 3 full body sessions that are slightly longer in duration, maybe they're a full 60 minutes, or you could do 4 to 5, splitting the muscle groups up, that are slightly shorter sessions, so 30 to 45 minutes. Then to maximize things further, where you have a hard endurance based session, you could either do that as a rest day for your strength, or you could focus on that as an upper body day for your strength. So then at least that way the legs are going to be kind of as fresh as possible. There's kind of 2 main approaches when it comes to hybrid training or concurrent training. One where you're simultaneously trying to get good at all disciplines, making progress at all disciplines across the board all of the time. And the second one being where you're slightly prioritizing one discipline and then you're trying to maintain the other. Now, over time, I don't think one is necessarily superior than the other, outside of the fact that how you approach it and how it affects you. For me personally, I find it really difficult to simultaneously get good across the board. I'd rather focus in on one and maintain the other. I just find that much easier when it comes to having the mental energy to push for sessions, and I find that easier physically as well when it comes to muscle soreness and recovery and sort of overtraining. Time of year massively influences me. So for example, in the winter months, I'm far less likely to want to spend time outdoors doing endurance-based stuff, long sessions on the bike, lots of running, lots of swimming in the sea. I'm kind of less likely to want to do that in the winter, so it makes sense for me to focus on the strength stuff. And also in the winter, typically I gain a bit more weight around Christmas time, and there's less kind of triathlon events as well going on. So that means I don't really need to be a lower body weight. I can kind of afford to go a bit of a higher body weight. But then when it comes to the summer months, when it's much nicer outside and I'm much more keen to be outside and spending long time on the bike and running, and I can then prioritize the endurance-based stuff in the summer when it's much easier to do so. And I also want to be leaner in the summer because I'm more likely to have my top off, and I can just try and maintain my strength through the summer. Now here's some examples. I'll put them up on the screen and you can either screenshot them or just take some inspiration from them. I found that some work better than others at different times of the year and depending on what's going on. It's all well and good, as well, having an absolutely perfect program, but life happens, right? And I definitely prescribe to sort of the 80-20 rule. And 100% of my training doesn't happen 100% of the time, and that's fine. I can still make progress. So just consider how they are on paper might not be how they actually end up in the real world. There's so many confounding variables with family, work, and external factors. Ultimately, for me, the goal is to obviously make progress in various different directions, listening to my body to make sure that I'm not burning out or overtraining, which is really easy to do when you're trying to do everything at once, and tracking the numbers over time to make sure I'm making progress. And to answer the question, cardio doesn't kill your strength gains. It is possible to do both, but you will just have to understand that you're not going to be as best as you possibly can when it comes to lifting and strength if you're doing cardio stuff as well. You can be good at both, but you can't be, the best you possibly can. And that just goes to show when you look at elite runners, their body shape, and it goes to show when you look at powerlifters, their body shape. You're training two different ends of the spectrum. Now you can train them both and get better at both, but it's not going to be as efficient if you're, just training one of them. But you can have so much fun. You get to reap all of the benefits of training both systems, which is why, I personally like it. It adds variety to training as well. I know I'm not going to be amazing at one thing, but I'd rather be good across the board and fit across the board. Let me know in the comments below what type of training you do and what works best for you, and I'll see you in the next video.